Good to see you, at least some of you. I wish to be there to join you. But anyway, we will do what we need to do online. So I would like to welcome you at my presentation. The presentation is about basically how to plan analysis in the project so that, well, we will actually deliver the value, not something, but the value. Yeah? So that's the main topic of my presentation. I think that the presentation itself will take something like half an hour or something like that. So we should still have some minutes for questions, discussions, if you will have some questions. And before we start, just two things about me. That's me, by the way. Yeah, nice picture. And I am in the domain for almost 20 years, so it's a while. And currently I am business analyst and system analyst, and I have a strong testing background, which I believe is good to have when working as business analyst. And what is also interesting, I am the member of board of IREP. IREP is the organization for certification of requirements engineers. So I am in the board. I have a pleasure to work with wonderful people. Okay, so let's come to the topic. Yeah? The topic is about planning activities so that we will deliver value. And you know why I decided to select the topic? Because my experience is that either we are not planning at all, and then we are hoping that things will go smoothly, which is a little bit crazy, by the way, or we are planning, but we are planning in a little bit not correct way. We are planning for activities. Like, imagine that you are starting a project. Yeah, you just started a project, and you need to plan your business analysis activities. And what is a typical approach? Unfortunately, the typical approach is that we are planning for activities. Like, we need to talk with stakeholders. Good. We need to talk with the team. Good. We need to write some requirements. Good. But the question is, what is the value of these activities? Yeah. If you don't understand the value that you are going to deliver, then it is a big risk that your activities are, let me call it, useless. Yeah, so you are doing things just for doing, and the value of doing these things is minimum. Yeah, so I would propose another approach. I would propose you to think about, well, let me call it, to think about projects and think about our activities in form of artifacts and deliverables that we need to provide. And coming to the topic, coming to planning analysis, business analysis in project and organization, to be honest, it doesn't matter. There are several factors that we need to include to be more or less sure that we covered everything that was important. So there will be some elements that we need to think about. Then there will be some kind of process, planning process, that I would recommend you to follow. And the second thing is actually how to validate the approach, because again, my experience is that very often we are planning our business activities from our point of view, and we forget that we are working in a team. Yeah, so we are not communicating with those people. We are not asking them. We are not, discussing our approach. We're just saying, "Hey guys, this is my way of working. Accept it." It's maybe not really smart solution. Yeah, so I will show you something else. Okay, and the first thing, what to consider when planning business analysis. Guys, business analysis activities are, you can compare it to any kind of project. Yeah, you know perfectly well how to plan projects. Like, we need to establish the vision, the scope, planning, budget, schedule, blah blah blah. Yeah, business analysis is a project, so you need to consider your work as a normal project within the big project development, for example, or maintenance. And the first thing, if you would like to ensure that what you are doing makes sense, is to think about the objective, what I am going to achieve with my work. Yeah? Then you need to understand what deliverables are expected from you. Then activities, because every deliverable will be provided as a result of activity. Yeah? So it's a normal, obvious, let's say, natural consequence of thinking about work products. Then you need to understand relationships, because you know perfectly well that some activities are interdependent. Then you need to think about, okay, what I need to know, what we need to know, what skills, competencies we need to have in order to execute activities, in order to produce work products. And at the very, very end, we are thinking about tools. Yeah? And that would be my strong recommendation. Don't start with tool selection. Leave tools for the end, because otherwise you are focusing on tools and you are forgetting what actually is the goal of our work. And now let's go into details, okay? The first thing, objectives. Okay, you started the project. Yeah, you are assigned to a business analysis project, to a software development project. I don't care. The first thing to do is, that would be my suggestion, don't start with writing user stories. Don't open Jira. Don't start with writing user stories. Don't start with asking questions to the customer, to the stakeholders. First, you need to define, establish, and confirm what was the goal for you. Yeah, what is the objective? You are assigned to a project, and what is your role actually? Are you going to prepare the backlog? Are you going to prepare the design, the input for design of the implementation? Are you going to provide input for testing and implementation? Are you going to support the customer with understanding the problem? Because these are completely different objectives. If your goal is to produce the backlog, which will be input for development and testing, that's a different objective that's supporting the customer in defining the business change. Different deliverables, different skills, different activities. Yeah. And probably you may say, oh my gosh, but we know exactly what we are going to do in our project. Are you sure? Because my experience is that we are just starting work without understanding what is the purpose. And that leads to a kind of stupid decisions. Like we decided that we will use user story. Why? Because we always use user story. And in a given project, it will not work. Why it will not work? Because the scope of the project, the goal of your work is just different than in previous projects. But first, you need to understand your role in the project, expectation towards you. Yeah? Talk to customer, talk to team, yeah? Understand what is your role in the project. And just to give you an example, let's imagine that you are working for a customer, for a company, and the company wants to expand its business area. Yeah? And just for example, the company right now operates in Poland, providing training, consulting services. So let's imagine we are talking about training company. And now the company is running pretty well and wants to enter European market. Yeah, you can map it to your reality. Like you are operating in Russia, you would like to go to China, Asia, whatever. Yeah. And what's the story here? The organization wants to prepare for this change. And in order to prepare this change, this scalability of the business, you need to understand what we have, what we need to change, which products, services we need to add, we need to change, so that we will successfully enter the new market. And you are entering those kind of projects. Yeah? The first thing would be to understand what could be the objective for your work. And here are sample objectives. Your goal is to help, the main goal, the master goal is to help the customer to enter new markets. So your goal will be to prepare the change strategy. In order to do it, you need to understand what is current state, what is as is. Without understanding as is, good luck. You can plan for a change, it will not work. So you need to understand as is, the current state. Probably you need to understand possible direction of the change, like we can go into this direction or this direction or this direction. In order to do it, you need to probably do a kind of market analysis, market research. Having this information, you can think about, okay, what the company needs to change in order to enter this new market. And on that basis, your end goal will be to develop a change strategy, of course, together with customer, together with stakeholders. Yeah? And now you have these objectives. What you are going? You are going back to customer. You are presenting these objectives, and you are confirming. Expectation management, guys. Otherwise, it may happen that you can think about your work in a specific terms. You believe that your goal is something. The customer is expecting something completely different. Yeah, and at the very end, you will have a problem because the customer will be disappointed, will be frustrated. Yeah, we don't want to have this situation, so maybe it is better to clarify some things at the very beginning. Okay, we have one thing, objectives. Then the next thing, we have a goal, how to reach to this goal. The goal is reached, is achieved by some deliverables. So there are things that you will need to deliver, like requirements, for example, like process models, like reports, market research reports, like constraints, like documentation of stakeholders. Yeah. And coming back to our example, yeah, this is still the same organization, okay, company providing trainings that want to enter a new market. And our goal is to support the change. What we need to deliver. And just for example, you can deliver things, artifacts, documentation, work products that explain what is the environment of the organization, like what is the business context, who are competitors, who are customers and their characteristics. You can elaborate personas, for example. You can understand the legal conditions. Yeah, like for example, something that is allowed in Poland will not be allowed in France, for example. You need to understand who are stakeholders. Yeah, so you will need to provide a kind of stakeholder analysis together with estimation of impact, of interest of stakeholders. Your goal was to understand the current situation as is in order to deliver to be definition. So probably you will need to have business process models as is and to be. On that basis, you will define business needs and the business constraints. And the input for this, that is why it is in the bracket, are business objectives. So you need to go to the customer and understand the strategy, business goals, the tactics, vision of the company, because it will give you a kind of background. Without understanding of this background, well, sorry to say, but we are guessing. Yeah, we are not defining the change strategy based on the facts. We are just guessing that perhaps we can go into this direction, perhaps in this direction, but without the context, you will not know which direction is correct, yeah, which is feasible, which is compliant with the strategy. So that is why sorry to say, but we will need to have some input from the customer. So at this step, we are creating, I am referring to this as a kind of structure of artifacts. Yeah? And don't be scared, I know how it looks. That's an example of this kind of structure of artifacts. By the way, it's made in a quite fancy tool, Enterprise Architect. Maybe some of you know this tool. And this structure is showing these elements. These are artifacts. These are work products. Yeah. And on this diagram, you can see which work products will be delivered, will be produced, will be used in a given project. You can also understand relationships and why it is important. Because if you don't understand deliverables and relationships, then it may happen that you are starting from the end. Like without understanding the whole business background, we are trying to understand functional requirements. And so you are starting from the end. And the risk of this approach is that you will deliver something useless. So maybe it is better to do things step by step. Yeah, the first step, understand the goal. The second step, deliverables. The next step, activities. How to get to these deliverables. Because again, sorry to say, but they will not be there waiting for collecting. You will need to create them, you and your team. Yeah, so we need to do some things in order to deliver those deliverables. Sample activities, identification of the business context, market analysis, customer identification, stakeholder identification, business process modeling, yeah, and plenty of them. If you don't know which activities could be done in scope of business analysis, you can refer to sources. You can go through Babel Guide. You can go through IRAP certification. You can go through BCS certification. There are a lot of resources that will give us a kind of initial information, what could be done in scope of different areas of business analysis. So we have some support. And for me, the best support is the result of the previous step, artifacts. What are the products? Like in your project, probably it is expected from you to deliver user stories. Good. What we need to do to deliver user stories. Yeah? And this question is not trivial, because you might think that, okay, what's the big deal? I need to deliver user stories. So what I can do, I can just take my pen or laptop and write user stories. Really? No. You need to collect information. You need to validate the information. You need to probably sit with product owner, with stakeholder, with the team to elaborate acceptance criteria. This is not a single task. Yeah? That's actually a plenty of tasks with some relationships. Yeah? So my recommendation will be think about every single of your work product as a result of activity. Okay? And you need to understand what exactly needs to be done to deliver this work product. Coming back to our example, still the same example, still this company, okay? We identified several work products, and now the question, what we need to do this work product? And for example, we need to do market analysis. Okay, so we need to understand who are target customers, which are the customer segments that we are targeting, who are competitors, what is their offer. Yeah, we need to understand all the legal conditions, laws, regulation, and so on. And at this point of time, probably you will start thinking, maybe I will need a lawyer or something. Yeah, because probably in Russia you have the same story. In Poland, our regulations and rules are written in a form that it's impossible for a normal person to understand it. Yeah, so you will need to have a lawyer who will provide a kind of interpretation. What else you can think about? You can think about identification, analysis of stakeholders. And again, it's a bunch of tasks. Yeah? On the basis of this analysis, you can create a kind of some initial input for building your schedule, your plan of work. Yeah? And look, that's step number 3, not 1. Okay, we have activities, perfect. But these activities have different connections, like there are dependencies. Yeah? There are also different dependencies at the business level, at the technical level, and probably you know that. Yeah? Sometimes we would like to deliver something, but our architects, our IT guys are saying, wait. First, we need to understand something, we need to do research, and so on. So we have plenty of dependencies. And just for example, before going into solution, before proposing solution, you need to understand the business need. It's a kind of obvious. Yeah. So the first activity will be all the activities that are related with understanding the business need. Then you can think about, okay, we have business need, we have specific business context, which solution could be possible, could be, let's say, interesting for our customer. And again, example. Yeah. Again, still the same project. We know our goal. Yeah. This strategy of change, this entering new market. We know some artifacts. We know some activities. And now, what are relationships? The first relationship, whatever you propose to the customer, it must support business objectives. Otherwise, your change will not help the customer to grow, to enter the new market, to develop. You can be dependent on the technology. And that is why, by the way, as a business analyst, we should talk with architects, with IT guys, so that we will not propose impossible solutions. Because, from theory, in theoretic point of view, we could think about our business things as something that is completely independent from technology. Yeah? So we are proposing all possible solutions. We could, but in the real life, we have companies that are running in specific environment with limitations, including technical limitations, like they already have own infrastructure. They are already using specific tools, method developments, framework, and so on. You can ignore it. No problem. But this way, there is a big risk that you will waste time and resources proposing impossible solutions. Yeah. So again, maybe it would be a better solution to just consider those constraints when thinking about our goals, our activities, our artifacts, and so on. Okay. What else? Another example of the dependency. We mentioned something that in the scope of our project, one of our goals would be to understand the as-is, the current state, to build the to-be. And to build the to-be, you need to understand as-is. Otherwise, you don't know what will be the scope of the change. You won't be able to identify the gap. Yeah? And there is a nice story behind, because there are a lot of people who think that, well, if your goal is to propose the change, so basically to build the to-be state, you can actually skip to-be, because to-be is something that you will change. So there is no sense and no value in understanding the as state. It's a kind of approach, but if you don't understand what is the current situation, how can you properly build to-be situation if you just ignored the current environment of the organization, the current context, the current limitation? Yeah? Then your to-be will be based purely on assumptions. And you know exactly what's the story of assumptions, right? Assumptions are things that we believe are true, but you are not sure. And you could be surprised that you proposed perfect to-be state. You are communicating this proposal of the to-be state with the customer, and the customer is saying, yeah, nice job. It's impossible in our environment. Yeah. Good, nice job. You just wasted a lot of resources. So don't skip any parts. Yeah. Okay, we have dependencies. Another nice example of a kind of initial process from my tool. What the model is presenting actually? The model is presenting a very, very initial high-level approach to business analysis planning. You have activities, yeah? And there are some connections between the activities. Like, for example, before you define the activities, you need to understand the end results. So you need to understand the artifacts. There are also relationships at the level of input and output. This activity produces objectives of business analysis, and this is input for another activity. If you will think about your project, yeah, and the things that you are doing within your project, think about your work in the following way. We need to elaborate user story, for example. What I need to do the user story? We need to do some interviews, workshops, discussions, whatever. We need to collect information. This information is input for elaborating user story. User story is input for elaborating test cases. Just for example, yeah. So there are many relationships, and if you would like to plan your work properly, you need to understand these relationships. Otherwise, it may happen that you delivered nice user stories, you passed over to development and testing, and 2 days later, the tester is coming to you and is asking, hey, I am missing some information, and I am not able to propose test cases because there is no information in your user story. So what you will need to do? Come back to user story writing. Ouch, another waste. Yeah, because you just skipped some connections. You were not aware that my artifacts are input for another role work. Okay? If you understand these connections, then you have a chance. You are actually creating the chance to produce work products that actually deliver the proper information, the proper content, because you know who are the audience of this content. Yeah, who are the customers of your work. Okay. Another thing, very important thing, competencies. Yeah? We need to deliver things. In order to deliver things, we need to do something. And now the question, which competencies are needed to deliver those things? And who has these competencies? Because guys, no one said that business analyst or whatever role in the project needs to deliver all. No one said that. If just, for example, you identified that in your project, we will need to propose mockups, screen mockups, yeah? Then the question, who can do it? I can? Yes, I can. Actually, I can. There will be ugly because I am using some, not so fancy tools like Paint, for example. Yeah, I know how it sounds. However, I can do it. But if you have someone like UX guy or UI guy, they have a better competency and better resources. So maybe they should do it. And if you assume that they will do it, then what impact it will have on my plan? Because if your approach is that we are going to deliver user stories and mockups, then you need to think that I am responsible for user stories, for example, and our nice UX guy will prepare mockups. So we need to synchronize. We need to collaborate. Otherwise, your user story will be in conflict with the mockup. Okay. Right. Coming back to our example here, still the same. Still entering the market. What competencies we need? Okay. And now you can ask yourself a question. Have you ever done market analysis? Have you ever supported this kind of initiatives where it is not about building backlog? It's not at all. No backlog for now. First, you need to understand how to change the business. And competences that are a kind of common is to be able to communicate with the business. Can you do it? I would ask another question, how to measure that? When you will know that you can communicate with the business? Can you do market research? Do you have proper tools, knowledge? Yeah. Can you apply some technical techniques, some tools that are actually applicable at the strategy analysis level, like SWOT, like PUSTLE, like whatever? Yeah. If we're thinking about another project, like a project that, well, your goal will be to build the backlog, yeah, then we have similar, let's say, question to ask. Who will create user stories? Who will create integration specification? Who will create data model? But you will ask the questions only when you first define artifacts. If you will just start from writing user stories, then probably you'll start writing user stories. And in the middle of project, you will discover that we have fancy user stories, but we have no clue about system architecture. Why? Because we didn't think about that at the very beginning. We just started working. And in the middle of project, we are just discovering that, we need to have interface specification. And by the way, we need to think about security, but we don't have any security experts on the team. Yeah, you have a gap in the middle of project. So we are creating a big risk area. Okay. And now what you can see, another screen from another tool. This time, this tool is Myra. Maybe you know that tool. I will show it very quickly at the very end so that I can show you how I am planning my work. And why I'm showing that? Because these things, this yellow things, this yellow sticky notes are activities, okay? These things here, red things are actually outputs, artifacts. Okay? Connections are quite easy to understand. And here you have the roles. Okay? So people assigned to proper tasks. So it is something that you can compare to RACI matrix, but maybe in more fancy form. Yeah? So you identified goal, you identified deliverables, you know what to do to deliver these deliverables, and then you need to understand who should do it, who should be involved. Okay? And you can create something like this image in a form that is appropriate for you. Okay? And the last thing is about tools. Are we going to use Jira? I don't know. Are we going to use Enterprise? I don't know. Because it depends from the process requirements. And the process requirements can be identified when you will think about all the specific elements one by one. Yeah? Tools, methods, techniques, they should support some activities that support deliverables and work products. Yeah? So tools are just tools. They will help you to do your work. First, you need to understand what you should do. Okay? And by tools, I mean process frameworks, I mean tools like Enterprise, like Visual, like Paint, whatever. By tools, I understand also methods, techniques, everything that is needed to complete the work. Okay. And how you can put those things together. That's a mind map. That's a normal mind map created in each mind, if I remember correctly. And this mind map is a result of process planning. Yeah, so that's a real case example of a map that I created for one of our customers. I know exactly that you don't see details, but unfortunately I cannot show details. However, what I would like to tell you, at the very beginning of the project, why not to sit with team? Why not to sit with stakeholders and make some things clear, like what we are going to actually deliver? What are the steps to deliver? What I should do as a business analyst? Yeah. So, for example, what I should do in scope of a strategy analysis, what I should do in scope of business needs analysis. What is my role in development? Yeah. So that the first thing you are understanding how are you going to organize your work, and you can understand your role in this everything. Yeah? And by the way, you have a perfect knowledge sharing at the very beginning, because you will start to understand what developers need from me, what tester needs from me, yeah, what is business expectation. So At the very beginning, you are creating a kind of, let me call it contract between you and the rest of the team and vice versa. And again, you are managing expectations. It is also a perfect, in my opinion, a perfect approach to ensure transparency. I am not hiding anything. I am not, doing my job and forcing people to guess what is the next step. No, everything is transparent from the beginning so that they know what can they expect from me, what I can expect from them, and I will. Yeah, they know that. That is why I'm doing planning, so that nobody is surprised in the middle of project that I am coming and just, for example, asking business stakeholder questions like, hey, we have a product increment, you need to do acceptance testing. And they are saying, what? Because they just learned it. And they don't have time because it was never assigned. It was never planned. So, as you can see, I'm not talking about planning understood like you need to prepare 100 pages in Word. Not at all. I'm talking about planning at minimum level so that we can understand what we need to deliver, how to deliver. You can deliver this plan in any form that you like, as mind map, as Miro, I will show you in a moment. If you prefer models, you can do it in enterprise. By the way, I like models, so I also have models for business analysis processes in enterprise. Yeah, but it's not must-have. You can even have this plan here. The issue is that you need to communicate with others to understand if your plan is feasible, if they can deliver what you want, if you can deliver what they want. Okay, and before questions, I will show you, I promise that I will show you Miro, and that is, I think that we still have several minutes, so 2 minutes, I will show you Miro, okay? And sorry guys, it's in Polish, but probably you can understand a few words. If you don't, that's not a problem at all. I will explain it, how it works. Imagine that you are starting a project, okay? And you are using any tool you like. It could be also a piece of paper. And your goal is to sit with stakeholders and sit with the team to create an initial contract. And the first thing that I am doing, I'm asking people, like here, guys, put all the artifacts that you think will be needed in the project. Put it in the form of sticky notes. Like, for example, business concept, like process model, like a UAT report, like use cases, like data model. Put everything that you think will be important in this project. Yeah? I am asking business people, I am asking testers, I am asking developers. And by the way, my role here in this exercise is a kind of process manager. Okay, you can use your Scrum Master to do it, or project manager in the worst case. Yeah, so we are putting artifacts. Just put everything that you think is important. Then we are trying to arrange artifacts in the following structure. Like, this is the business need. The business need is something that can come from business goals, from stakeholders, from legal, from risk. Yeah, so we are trying to structure artifacts, and we are trying to assign artifacts to the concept level, to the project initiation level, and then to the project realization level. So basically the software development. And here you can probably see something that backlog, epics, stories, tasks, acceptance criteria, mockups, and so on. Yeah, and this is once again, this is a teamwork. We are doing that together. Yeah? And I really recommend this exercise, because that way, this is a good way to also explain how things are working from the, let's say, big picture perspective. Yeah? Like, just for example, for developer, they have no clue that there is something above the backlog, like vision, like mission, like business goals. Yeah, probably they have no clue because they are not working at that level. And if you will explain this higher level, the strategic level, then they also realize that if we change requirements, it is not because we are ugly, we don't like them, and that is why we are changing. We are changing because the business context has changed. Yeah, so it's much easier to work with people without any conflicts, misunderstanding. Okay, we have artifacts. Perfect. Then another exercise, you can see here in this yellow sticky notes. I'm asking people, hey guys, think about any activities that will be needed to deliver this article. So what you need to do? We need to do unit testing. We need to do integration testing. We need to do interviews with stakeholders. We need to do refinement and put it in the form of sticky notes. Okay. And then what we are doing, we are almost ready to create this kind of map. But first, I need to understand roles. Okay. So another example, give me the role names. Who is working in your project? We have business owner, for example. We have Scrum Master. We have product owner. We have business analyst. We have UX, whatever you have. Yeah? We are creating a map so that I am at the very beginning rather randomly putting the roles. Then I am putting activities with output so that you understand, for example, what is the input, what is output, like here. Yeah, that's a business requirements analysis. Input, business requirements. Output, detailed business requirements. Okay? Input, output. A typical notation for processes. Input, output. Someone is doing, some resource is doing activity. And you are creating this kind of map. Yeah, with relationships, with some decisions, for example. Yeah? And that map is for the level of software project realization. So it's basically about creating the software. Yeah, you can do similar example for strategy analysis, for discovery, yeah, for maintenance, whatever you like. So, guys, that would be my approach. Okay, if you would like to see this kind of maps, you can ask me in private. Let's say, yeah, in private, offline. Here you can see my mail. Here you can also see my website, and some of those mind maps are put on my website. You can download without any registration and so on. So maybe you will find it useful. And I believe that right now I should finish, and probably we still have some time for questions and feedback or comments, concerns, whatever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karolina. We have one question from online and two questions. Who was first?
Karolina, thank you so much. There were such important points and such deep points that you showed, and I definitely will use this approach that you demonstrated. And my question is, what do you think, who should be aware of this kind of activities? Is it lead business analyst, or maybe with collaboration of product owner? And if junior and senior business analysts should think about these kind of things? Thank you.
Good question, actually. You know, my personal opinion is that this approach, and it's not even about approach, it's about way of deciding. This is something that we all should be familiar, especially people who are actually in charge of the process. Product managers, product owners, project managers, senior BAs who are responsible for defining the process. Because for me, asking like why I am doing things, all things, which skills I need, it's a basic, let's say, fundamental questions to avoid waste. Otherwise, really, there is a risk that we will do things that are just purely not necessary. And maybe you even have this experience, that we wasted a lot of time delivering things and nobody needed it. Nobody needed it. There was no value. Why? Because we are not asking questions. We're just running into doing things without reflection, and I will dare to say without thinking, actually. Yeah, so answering shortly, I think that everybody who is in charge of planning, organizing activities should be aware about some things. Things like what's the goal, what's the activity deliverables, what's the activities, what's the competencies, especially our managers.
Actually, it's time, but we have one more question.
Thank you, Karolina, for your really deep presentation. And when you were talking about what activities should be done by different people, I thought about me having an imposter syndrome. What if in the end of this analysis, I see that I'm not qualified enough for any of this? Like I'm enough for checking general points, but I'm not qualified enough to make it good. How to...
Oh my God, perfect question. Thank you for that. Yeah, the first thing, are you really not qualified? Because if you are not, then why are you in this project? Your manager is crazy to appoint you to this project? Guys, yeah. So that would be the first question. Another question, I completely agree. Sometimes when doing that analysis, we realize that, I cannot do it. Or I could do it, but I feel that the result will not be good enough. But you are working in a team, right? Probably you can ask your team to support you. That is what I did when working on a project, a kind of technical project, and I hate technical projects. We were about to create some integration and so on. I hate that. I cannot do that. So I asked people like developers, like architects. I was very, let's say, honest. I told them, guys, I have no clue how to do it, but we need to do it. There is nobody who will replace me. So we need to deliver, and I will need your help. And they did. That's another solution. And the third solution, probably in your company, you are not the only one business analyst. So probably you have friends, colleagues, and so on. And what do you think? What about communicating the issue to your manager that, hey, in this project, we need to deliver that. I don't feel comfortable with this topic because I feel that I still need to learn and I need some support. I need some senior BA who has proper competencies to help me. But the first thing, you need to communicate that. And don't be afraid. If you are working in a normal company with no crazy bosses, they will just... It's not a problem to say, I don't know everything. It's not a problem at all. If it is a problem, that just saying, I would really consider changing the company. Okay, probably it's rude, but this is what I think. Be honest, otherwise you are taking the risk on yourself. Yeah? You approved to do thing that you are not qualified. You approved. You agreed. So you are responsible for providing story sheet